If I had to start all over again and I wanted to get to a point where I'm generating as much as £10,000 or $10,000 every single month, if I wanted to get there as soon as humanly possible, this is exactly what it is that I would do. All right. Now, look, first of all, those of you that have seen some of my other videos, you know that I talk a lot about mindset. So that is the first point of call, is making sure if you want to go on to generate £10,000 a month, it's not about the strategy as such. Yes, of course, having a business model that works is important. But remember the most important thing, you can't get away from this. I don't care who you are, you can't get away from this. And that is mindset, okay? Your mindset is absolutely crucial, okay? So when I'm talking about crucial, look, when you've got the right mindset, then you can achieve anything you want, because mentally you're there. So many of us focus on money. Yeah, but Jay, where's the money? I want to make the money. Yeah, but where's the money? Where's the quick, get rich quick formula? I just want to make all this money. But we never really focus on developing ourselves. We're always looking for a real quick win, just a quick win that's going to now start generating what, 6, 7 figures? Look, it's not realistic. And all of the people that you might follow maybe online, or you're just entrepreneurs that you're very familiar with and that you respect and all that sort of stuff, the reason why they are successful is because they have got a rock solid mindset. So that means that they are prepared to put in the work. So times where you might want to watch Netflix, these people are working. In addition to that, they're increasing the level of expectation all the time by maybe surrounding themselves with the right people. They will have mentors. They're going to be completely honest with themselves. And when I say honesty, I mean, really now recognizing that, we are in our current financial situation right here, right now, because of us. Not because of, oh, well, the thing is, Jay, the thing is, I had a business partner, in 1992, and they screwed me over, and, I've never been able to recover. Well, look, again, your mindset is not very strong. And that's the biggest difference. People want to blame. People want to look around and be like, oh, well, the reason why we're not where we want to be financially is because of the government, is because of the economy, is because of, my wife, is because I've got, because I've got kids, right? Because I've got these kids, I don't really have the time, right, Jay? Because I've got the kids and all the rest of it. And it's like, well, I tell you something, your mindset is not strong. Because if your mindset was strong, then no matter what is going on, you would still be able to push through and go on to achieve the success of what it is that you're looking for. If we look at, say, the pandemic in 2020, that could be a good reason as to why we haven't been able to achieve success. However, there are companies like Zoom that went from being a successful company to a ridiculously successful company, all as a result of the pandemic. And lots of other businesses as well have also benefited. So it's not about using excuses, it's not about, well, the thing is, and looking for reasons as to why, we can't succeed. And this is what I'm saying when it comes down to a rock solid mindset. When you've got the right mindset, making £10,000 in a month is not as difficult because you're there. You've got that right type of mindset. Yeah. Really, really, really important stuff. So we're not gonna get away from that. It's important. We can't get away from it. So it is what it is, okay? Now, the actual practical steps of what I would then take. So after developing my mindset, I'd maybe, listen to a lot of the Serious About Success podcasts, okay? I'd maybe listen to some of those type of things to try and really increase your level of expectation and understanding of what's going to be required of you to really now go on to generate a 6-figure income, all right? That sort of thing, okay? Now, once you've done that, you've got to a point, okay, right, you've done all of that. All right, brilliant. The next point, of course, right, I'm starting all over again. I'm starting from the very beginning. It's like, okay, well, what do I do now then? All right, well, what do I do? I've got the mindset, Jay, right? I've watched a podcast, yeah. I've looked up some Alex Hormozy. I've looked up some, such and such, yeah. So, I'm there. I get it, Jay. I get it. And I'm prepared to work and do what is required. Okay. Now, one of the most straightforward ways of what business is it's an exchange of value, right? This is what business is, yeah? Is you provide something of value to a potential customer, and our job is to articulate the value in our product or our service, okay? So, we need to, have a product or a service that is going to add a lot of value to people's lives, okay? So that could be, say, for example, what we do at Serious About Success is, we help people leave their day job within 6 months. Now, is that of value to you? To join a coaching program of which you're able to leave your day job in the next 6 months. How much is that really worth to you, for example? But again, that's my business model of what I do at Serious About Success. You've got to think to yourself, well, how can you add value to other people? It could be a product, it could be a service, it could be any of these types of things, okay? Now, if you're in a position where it's like, look, Jay, look, I like the idea of business, but I don't really know what to sell. I don't really have anything, I don't have any expertise that I can then start, creating value out of it and putting it online and selling it. I don't have anything like that. I'm just stuck. Then, a good idea is to just meet somebody, find somebody who is successful and jump on board their bus. Okay, I'm going to write that down, right? I'm going to write down it, bus, yeah? Right? So when I'm talking about bus, I mean jumping on board the bus of somebody that is already got what it is. They've already got a good value-based product, okay? And, your job is to connect with that successful person and then start selling their products for them. Look, this is exactly what it was that I did in the early days. I met a great mentor. He was fantastic. He taught me a lot of things based around a mindset and all of that sort of stuff. And then after a while, I had a digital marketing agency. I had a few things, but I wanted to move on from that. I didn't really want to do my digital marketing agency anymore. I just didn't like it. It felt too much like a job for me. So I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do now? Because it was generating a decent income. So I was like, well, my mentor's got some really, really good products and they're selling for high ticket. Okay. So, high ticket products. So if I can see the value in these products. So if I just jump on board this and start reselling, do a deal with my mentor or somebody successful, for example, where I can get paid a really good commission for selling their products, and then now start learning how to sell those products. That's it. So say, for example, if you can earn as much as 500 or even up to £1,000 as a commission, now that might be 50% of the purchase price of the product, or, even 30%, something like that. All right, well, how many £500 do I need, in order to now start making £10,000 a month? So if I'm going to get paid £500 a commission, if I make 20 sales in a month, I've got my 10 grand. Okay, so how do I make 20 sales in a month? Okay, we've got webinars, we've got seminars, we've got digital marketing, you've got ads, you've got, you can put out content on social media, we've got referrals, we've got, various different things of what we can now start doing. And, my advice would be to do all of it, like do a bit of everything and see what really works, what really stands out, what really sticks. So by you doing that, then you've now got your £10,000 a month. And then after that, let's just say, look, you might not want to do that forever. You might not want to be selling other people's products forever, for example. But what that's also going to give you an opportunity to do is to, well, we can now learn about their product, learn their products inside out, and then we can repurpose their products. So in my situation, I was selling high value digital-based products, digital marketing training. That was the product. So yes, selling 20 a month, great. But then now to start creating your own products, you can repurpose the product of what it was that I was selling. So what I mean is that you can now create your version of these digital products because you've been selling it now for the last however long, as many as 20 of these a month. So you know the product inside out. So what's to stop you from now creating your version of a very similar product? Now, I'm not saying copy. I'm not saying copy down to the T, like, exactly word for word, exactly what it is that whoever you're selling for, like, don't copy their exact product. They might not be very happy about that, but you can make your version of it and repurpose it and put your own spin on it. Now you've got your own product of which you can now add value to other people's lives by them purchasing that product. And then because you're now so familiar with selling these type of base products, because you've just been doing it for somebody else for however long, Now you're in a position that you can now start doing it yourself. So now you've got your own product of which you can now price up accordingly, and you can now start selling that, of which you're now going to generate all of the income. So before you might have only took maybe a percentage, a commission, whereas now you're in a position where, you know, you can keep 100% of all of the profits as a result of you now creating your own product. So that then means that it now becomes easier to get to £10,000. You might not need to sell 20 of these a month. You might now only need to sell 10 of these a month. So it's not rocket science. You know, it's straightforward stuff. Like, what do you think we all do here? You know, look, I'm not the only person in this world that is standing up here giving training based around, you know, business. There are even more successful people than me that have walked the exact same path. So again, you know, replicating, but putting your own little flavor, you know, my twist, my flavor of what I put on everything is mindset. So yes, you know, business strategies and everything like that is fantastic, but the mindset is everything, because I see so many people fall down based on mindset. So what I'm saying is that yes, repurposing other people's content, however, putting your own spin, your own real flavor, your own passion into it, that can now make all the difference. All right. So making £10,000 or $10,000 a month is easier than what you think it is, but harder than what you think it is as well. The reason why is because we need to become the person. We also need to be able to have some sort of value. Look, when we're talking about value as well, I would always, me personally, you know, I'd always kind of veer towards high ticket. Okay, like something that, you know, you're gonna be able to make a very decent amount of money. If I had to sell, you know, these pens and try and make £10,000 a month out selling these pens, look, of course people do it, but you got to sell a lot of pens. Yeah, you got to sell a lot, thousands of these pens. Whereas, you know, again, if you can jump on something that's a little bit more high ticket, then again, you don't have to sell as many of those items every single month before you can get paid, you know, your 10 grand a month. So that's really, really, really important. And then, like I mentioned, you know, by jumping on other people's buses is useful. And the reason why is because they already have products that you can then go on to sell. All right. That's how I'll be doing it. If I had to start all over again, I would follow that exact same process. Thank you very much.